Here are 5 examples of how to work with nakshatra resonance between the ascendant and lunar nakshatra. So last week we looked at my ascending nakshatra and lunar nakshatra and how they resonate together. I had a Udrashada ascending and Rohini moon. Today let's look at 5 other nakshatra combinations. So when it was Rohini nakshatra with Udrashada, there was a lot of resonance between both of them being dhruva, both of them being enduring. So the interpretation there is fairly good because resonance produces good results. Now, here is a combination where there's a clash. A person in my family with Udrashada nakshatra ascending and Moola nakshatra with the moon. So Moola nakshatra is bitter. And the type of bitter that it is, it's in a class with Ardra. It's a destructive bitter. It's a bitter that's digging down deeper and finding out the flaws and finding out the mistakes and tearing them down. Yet these nakshatra, Moola and Ardra, because they find falsity, they're very good for logicians and scientists. And when it combines with Udrashada, which is Vishvadeva, and Vishvadeva has to do with consciousness. Consciousness is the thing which is Vishva. It's the Deva, which is Vishva everywhere. So when you take the Udrashada of consciousness and you mix it with the fault-finding Moola, you're going to get some problems and you're going to get some assets. The problems you're going to get is being not such an affable, likable, easygoing person, but very good with logic and science. And so this person, in fact, is a professional systems analyst and spends all their days debugging software and criticizing things. This person is such a logician, you would not even be able to argue that the sky is blue with this person if they said that it's green. And they might say that it's green just so that they can enjoy having an argument with you. And that's also the nature of Moola and Udrashada. See, Udrashada, the reason why it's making not such an affable person or an argument-prone person, contentious person, is because Udrashada is supposed to be taking things together. Vishvadeva also means bringing all the devas together, bringing things together. So Moola is taking things apart. It's Niriti. She's the goddess of destruction. Moola is taking things apart. Udrashada is putting things together. So that's dissonance. So when it comes to people coming together, Moola brings them apart. So it's hard to get along with this person because they are critical. So now let's look at another Udrashada in my family. This one is Udrashada ascendant and Jesta moon. So another example of a combination between bitter and enduring. So happens that this particular person and the other person are very happily married for a long time. And so it shows that even if you have a person that you think is not very affable or likable, if you match them with another person who has a similar trait, that can be a great match. They can really understand each other, get along well, and have great compatibility. So again, with Jesta and Udrashada, there's that similar clash. Jesta is not really about bringing people together. Jesta is about personal eminence, personal betterment. So there's a clash there between the individual and the group. Udrashada is bringing things together as a group, letting a group work together, but Jesta is saying, no, I'm the best. So that clashes. Jesta's clash also is that it has so much espionage and so much intrigue and envy. So when it clashes with Vishvadeva, the Vishvadeva nakshatra, which is Udrashada, when Jesta clashes with Udrashada, what you're getting there is this not wanting to be a part of groups, not trusting groups. And that's a dissonance. So that's going to be a very difficult theme in this person's life. Not being able to accept a group, not being able to be a part of a group, differentiating oneself from the group, moving away from a group. Now let's look at a character that we can name openly. Señor Presidente Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, he's also got a Jesta moon. Surprise, surprise. But what's his ascendant nakshatra? It's not Udrashada. It's Magha. So Magha is about power. And it's it's Ugra nakshatra. And Ugra nakshatra and Tikshna nakshatra, they go better together. There's three groups amongst the nakshatra types. The Tikshna, the bitter ones, go well with the Ugra, the strong ones. Bitter and strong goes good together. And then the sweet ones, soft ones, Mridu, they go good with the Dhruvas, the enduring ones. And then the Chipra, the quick ones, go well with the Chala, the movable ones. So when you have combinations amongst those groups, it's generally resonant. And then there's also some resonance across the groups. Like strong goes well with enduring, and sweet goes well with movement. The nakshatras from those types, of course, you have to examine them individually, but they'll have their categorical resonance or dissonance. So here, with Trump, you have a categorical resonance. And even if you don't like Trump, he's a powerful person. He's not a Joe Schmo. So here he is with a Magha nakshatra. That's a strong nakshatra, and it's meaning inherited power. And then you mix that with Jesta. Jesta is personal prominence. So he's taking personal power. He's really just enhancing his brand name. That's his motivation all the time, at all times, enhancing the Trump. And with Jesta, there's all kinds of intrigue, secrecy, jealousy, rivalry. But he's able to do this successfully. It's not a clash with something else. Like in the previous case, Jesta was clashing with the unifying nature of Udrashada. So it was making a person that's getting trouble from their sense of jealousy and rivalry and intrigue. But with Trump, it's not a clash, it's a resonance with his ascendant nakshatra. All this rivalry, secrecy, spying, espionage, that's what politicians do. Magha is a political nakshatra, it has to do with kings and power. And Jesta is a political nakshatra, it has to do with power and kings. Indra is the king of the gods, and Indra is the deva of Jesta. So you got the king's throne and you got the king. And you put the two of them together and you get the president of the United States. And this guy is all about deception. Claims of deception, claims of rivalry, enhancing people's jealousy, preying on people's jealousy and envy of one another to get himself higher. And he successfully does that because there's resonance. Now let's look at a fourth case. There's another Jesta moon. Another famous person with a Jesta moon is Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein doesn't have Udrashada nakshatra rising, and also doesn't have Magha nakshatra rising. He has Ardra nakshatra rising. So he has a real resonance, but both of them are bitter. So this is an important point in astrology. Mantreshwar makes it explicitly in Paladipika. He says that anything, any factor, any house, any planet, malefic, benefic, whatever, can produce a good result or a bad result. Bitter doesn't mean bad result, but when bitter nakshatras combine with things that they're dissonant with, then they make big problems. When they combine with things that they're resonant with, then they give great assets. So, Ardra is similar to Moola, which we encountered previously. In this video, we talked about Moola and how it makes a logical mind, because it's finding out falsehoods, getting rid of lies. So Ardra also, it's very, very intelligent because it's cutting out the falsehood. This is a key part of intelligence that people overlook. It's not intelligent to just accept everything that everybody tells you. Of course, you need to accept things that people tell you, otherwise you can't be educated. But it's not intelligent to accept everything that everybody tells you. You have to examine what people are telling you so that you can sort out the good sources of information from the bad sources of information. So sure enough, one of the most famous geniuses in the world, Albert Einstein, he's got 2 bitter nakshatras. With Ardra is the nakshatra that destroys the falsehoods. It's the storm that comes and knocks things apart, destroys things, and then new plants grow. When you have Jesta mixing with Ardra, what you're going to get is the secrecy of Jesta is going to be applied to, first of all, mystical subjects. Now, it's combining with another bitter nakshatra, so you're going to get really good results here. So instead of petty secrecy with Jesta, which you can get with a big clash, it's like when Jesta clashes very strongly with another nakshatra, as to some extent it did with Udrashada, then you get petty jealousy. But if Jesta is very resonant with the Ascendant Nakshatra, instead of petty jealousy, then you get a real asset. Well, what is an asset of secrecy and envy? That means mysteries, mystical things. Einstein was a very philosophical scientist, a very mystical scientist. But also, Albert Einstein's life was not a walk in the park, and he spent most of his life unsuccessfully trying to prove a hypothesis. So it is a bitter experience also. There's a lot of bitter things in his life. But the resonance between these 2 bitter nakshatras is setting the stage. Remember, you're not trying to interpret the whole person's chart just by looking at 2 factors. But what you're doing with these 2 factors is understanding this is the basic stuff, the basic background that this person has to work with. That's what we explained in the previous video. We're assessing the basic background. Okay, one more. The perennial favorite. Never gets old. Albert Einstein too, right? Never gets old. Probably Donald Trump will also never get old. And then this one, Marilyn Monroe. So the Aslesha Nakshatra, that's what she has rising. And Dhanishta for her moon. Aslesha is also bitter. Look at all these bitter. In all 5 examples, bitter. So don't be scared if you have a bitter nakshatra. It's not the end of the world. Look at all these people with bitter nakshatras. Now, Aslesha, that's the Naga nakshatra. As I explained in my video on Aslesha nakshatra, Nagas are very famous for passionate sexuality and mysterious attractions and hypnotic beauty. And it's the nakshatra itself, the name means Aslesha, the name means embracing. You know, Aslesha can mean other things. It can mean snakes. It can mean deceptions. If Aslesha is in the ascendant or the moon and the other nakshatra is Jesta, then it's not going to make a Marilyn Monroe. That's for sure. But Marilyn Monroe's moon was Dhanishta, which is very, very interesting. Because Ishta means very beautiful. Beautiful, desirous, desirable, wanted, favorite. That's what Ishta means. And Dhan means a sound. So the sound is the original sense object. In Sankhya philosophy, sound is the first sense object because it's produced from space, which is the first element. So it also stands for, Dhanishta also just stands for all sorts of beautiful objects. So look at her. I mean, she's the sex symbol, the sex object, right? That's what she's famous as. So she's a Naga with Dhanishta. Naga is sex and Dhanishta is object. So Dhanishta is mobile. So that's also why it's affinitive. It has this affinity, the mobility of Dhanishta. What mobility means is not like likes to move around. It means good with movement, and especially good with lovemaking and arts and pleasures, because those all involve movements. So the Dhanishta nakshatra resonates very much with the Aslesha nakshatra, because on that theme, what does mobile have in common with Ashlesha? That they're both good at romance and sexuality. And that's why she's this famous sex symbol and was extremely beautiful and hypnotically beautiful. Okay, so I hope that gives you 5 good examples of how to do this. So if you have your own chart, then you can look at the information and do your own synthesis. So you can get your chart from me at victorcara.com/R2, or I can give you that R2 chart, which is the report. Or if you want me to personally do the synthesizing for you, with you, then do the victorcara.com/R1, where we get together for 4 hours, 4 separate sessions, and go through talking through how to do all these combinations of the factors in your chart. All right, so I look forward to seeing you next time. In the next video, we're going to move on to the Rashi Ascendant, what's going on the Ascendant in terms of the Rashi instead of the Nakshatras, and then how to blend that together with this information. So subscribe so you don't miss it. Give me a like button just to let me know that people like me. And comments, talk about your synergies in your chart, or the charts that you've seen. That would be really helpful. Thank you so much.